Guys, I'm quitting YouTube because I got accepted to my favorite college. Let's go. Jinwoo versus the Ant King has been the most anticipated fight for Soul Leveling, and it was a spectacle of just the main A1 Soul Leveling team going all out with their connections with Kinema Citrus. Thanks for pointing it out, Alex. There was a lot of Kinema Citrus stuff I've noticed for season 2. This was a display of all the talent that the team had with not the best conditions. Even animators working on it is shocked that they made it in time, and the fact that they made the fight even better is crazy. It's not just punch 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 and aura. Then there was definitely a lot of inspo from the Rider versus Dark Saber fight in the third movie of Heaven's Field. Maybe Kano took a lot of reference from that. But Shinji, isn't it from One Punch Man? Shut the fuck. I don't know if he actually did. And there was some cuts that's pretty familiar with SAO and such. Although this fight was a spectacle through and through, there is some inconsistencies this episode. I mean, the schedule was not the best. We all know that. But it wasn't that obvious compared to the last episode. So that's a good sign. Not really. This episode covered chapter 101 to half of 104. Yes, only 3.5 chapters because they extended the fight hella to the point that it was written action-wise better to showcase the Ant King. The camera never actually stopped working in the manhwa. They just cut the feed because the S ranks were getting dicked on and relayed the information that Byung-gu passed away. Anime had a bit of original scenes with people's reaction of the broadcast. Although they changed Jinna and Mom in the anime, Jinna was the one nagging about the TV, while in the manhwa, Mom was just being a boomer. Also, the broadcasting station logo is
Crush the skull, thank you.
They showcase Ant King compressing his skin so that he can focus his speed more. The anime did an amazing job at it, and we get to see Jinwoo finally using Baron's daggers that he'd obtained, although in the manhwa he already used it straight off the bat after he teleported, slicing ants. The fight was more of a struggle compared to the manhwa. The manhwa version was very, very one-sided with Jinwoo, so it definitely helped make the fight more exciting and not just for power farming. You gotta display the Ant King's abilities. In saying that, in the anime, we get to see more of Ant King's gluttony ability in play more. This skill makes the Ant King absorb the skills and knowledge of those he consumed. You can see that he ate the queen, so now he can command the ants. From Byung-gu, he can speak and the healing things. The Japanese mask guy, we saw his head being not in good shape. He used his ice ability a lot. While people can cry Jinwoo being late or not, listen, if you want to complain about Jinwoo being late, at least try to analyze stuff a bit better rather than saying, Jinwoo's late! Imagine trying to stream save someone with a 10-minute delay, then the stream just went off. It's hard. Side note, Soul Leveling's author clarified more of Ant King's intentions. He didn't straight away kill the Korean hunters, unlike the Japanese ones, because he wanted to torture them since they committed a sin, killing the queen. Same goes for Byung-gu's case. He didn't eat his head because he wanted the healing ability or such. He wanted the ability to communicate so that we, the ants, can kill the specific kinds, Korea, to commit genocide on them. And this also showcased his intelligence. He Hulk smashed Dongwook so he can locate where Byung-gu was hiding from the magic he was outputting, I think. Yes, the camouflage would have worked. They made Jinwoo cared a bit about Cha-haen's condition because Jinwoo didn't actually pull the elixir of life for Cha-haen. This episode's A part was storyboarded by Ryutaro Suzuki, and B part is storyboarded by Yoshihiro Kano, directed by Ryutaro Suzuki. Kano actually boarded all the Ant King vs Jinwoo fight, since from the looks of it, the commercial break happened when they were staring down at each other at 7:52 in the episode. Imagine a commercial actually played. It'll be like,
Ah, そうかもな。
おい 片手で食べやすい持ちやすい
The non-action parts, there's nothing to talk about, so I'm gonna purely focus on the fight. Before that though, I'll get to the negatives out the way. Some scenes does look limited, like repeated frames, zooming in the scene, so you kinda don't see the imperfections. And parts of that had some cuts didn't really go through the animation directors to correct, since the drawings can be not the best. There's also some noticeable melt, like Manager Woo walking here, or Jin Woo walking to the Ant King. And comp-wise, I wasn't a fan of this stare down or this one. They had to sacrifice parts of the episode so that the highlights can shine, not just the animation, also the compositing. There's a lot more I can nitpick, but today, let's talk about the positives a lot more. Suzuki's part, there's some to highlight, like when Jinwoo initially teleported. There's a lot of slow-mos for a more grander entrance for the shadows, and this part is quite similar with Kano's boards, with that one cut in episode 8, although these cuts are corrected by Kano himself, so that's why the timing can be a bit more choppy. He is the action director, so he will do a lot. I mean, even made Sans depress in a good way. Bad way, I don't know. Also, the CG ants look so good. Sometimes it's hard to tell which is CG or not, because the important thing about CG is the movement and colors comp. You have to blend the colors and shading well with everything. Sometimes CG can be bad because of colors being too saturated or the opposite, but if everything is mixed well, then you can have something very appealing in CGI. I'm gonna skip to Kano's part now. I mean, what can I say except cinema. Erected. Gaping wet hole. Kano's boards are something to be displayed in like the Hall of Fame. His understanding of scale, keeping in mind that this is a cave, using the environment clashing with rocks. This is probably my favorite episode of Kano in terms of boards. The transitions, even if everything is moving fast, it makes sense. Like there's just beams here, then from the effects, it smoothly transitioned. Then we go to a classic Sungwoo Park first person shot. Again, Kano probably used the Rider vs Darksaber as reference, since they were fighting in a cave too. The ideas for some scenes kinda have that same structure, and there's a lot of scenes that look like certain stuff, like the Ant King changing forms. Kinda feels like Kirito or one of the villains in War of Underworld Awakening. There's some more SAO stuff probably. At least there's no edgy scenes like SAO or Saber's ass getting tooted up. Indefinite smash. And of course the light traveling, it's a classic technique that a lot of animators use. The speed that those two are going is crazy, but you can follow it still. I think Suzuki definitely has a better grasp at Kano's boards when he's directing. Translating it to the final product, the camera is not like the red and blue lines definitely help for those characters traveling fast. We showcase the color very apparent with the stare down, and it's not just that. When Jinwoo slashes a lot or use mutilation, you see a lot of those blue lines to just visualize how much slashes he just did. Same goes for the two going blow for blow. The force from the punch, some can be a bit meh, but overall the hold and release using slow motion to fully get that anticipation across. They can really rely on the action animation to do everything, or just scratch that, let's just crank up the comp by 20. Some of the shots were glorious. They are capable of making the colors work with certain characters. Like take this stare down, the blue and maybe red drowned any other color that Jinwoo had. It's the same problem with the latter half of Dandadan, but if you look at some of these shots, the blue are mixed really well with Jinwoo here. It's like a blue hue with some of the highlights more bluer too. It's not overbearing, and the Ant King changing form, holy, that shit was crazy. And the OST, I think the singer is the same as the AOT one. Wait, let me try this. There's so much about the comp and drawing quality that I wouldn't expect this episode had, but it happened. Some of the best Jinwoo drawings of the series, thank you to Tokuda, or is it just the animator themselves? Drawing such a complex design like the Ant King moving around, it's crazy. The close-up eye shots, Jinwoo standing in front of the fire, feels like it's a more finished product compared to the thing that they showed in the first trailer of Solo Leveling. This was just pre-animated basically. Art direction wise, there's stuff that is left to be desired, but overall it doesn't really distract me from the fight. It's not like Wistoria. God damn, that shit was disgusting. Or in Shield Hero when they were inside the turtle. Talking more about the highlights of the episode, surprisingly, Kano only did like 30 seconds of animation and some cuts he corrected. I mean, it was probably the best sequence of the episode, but all the regulars and other freelancers did a big chunk of the episode, like 40 seconds or a minute worth of just getting it down on some gangster shit. Again, there's so much to highlight, but I'll only break down a couple. Here goes Mariyama's cuts. You see his style, how heavy and different the timing is compared to other animators. The heavy smearing, wind effects, and the flickering impact frames look crazy. The slow zoom to the punch here, the color scheme reminds me of those Jin Woo memes or Woo. Hajime Nakagawa presumably did 3 minutes worth of animation. He basically animated most of the end parts where the fight was done. He did visually the best looking sequence this episode. The flickering heavy lining and added lines really signify the transformation that the anking is doing, or sometimes you have the lighter shading engulfing it, with again the flickering impact frames with strands of blood vessels? I don't know, the very red color is great, distorting the anking's movement too, and even adding little details like hand-drawn sun rays or the white shading slowly moving upwards. Same goes for the boards, the distorted eye perspective, like looking through a peephole. I can smell you. And slowly revealing the anking's form from behind the pillar. Cinema. Ryuta Saito has a similar style like Mariyama. I mean, look at this first cut. Heavy smears, then boom daggers with the slow-mo wind effects. You can feel the strikes even if it's just very fast or they're forced, like pulling back with their whole body. Though the a bit over-exaggerated perspective drawings that really sells it. And I love Saito played with cubic debris to set the scene of them going fast through the cubic debris flying slowly. His uses of slow-mo is really good. Get the aura really well. Props to the compositing team, mixing the illustrated background with the action, moving them so it makes sense with the fight that's happening. Kano sequence, oh god. The colored lines going everywhere and going around the pillar to get that sense of scale. Again, this technique is pretty common, not that common, and Beck's eye movement is so good. Not just that, the skin folds, he really is flexing his forehead because he can't comprehend what's happening, and the volumetric eye with little details like the red parts beside the eye, the sense of depth, the fight choreography, and the background animation is amazing. The thing that's more impressive is the flow. The transitions are seamless, it's very cohesive even if everything is moving at Mach 20, and again, the anticipation, we slow it down, then release. The drawing quality also, this could be just Kano's drawings. The blue and red glow put on Jinwoo and Anking looks really good. Takafumi Tori sequence, while there is action, but his cuts is a display of very good looking drawings, and the comp really helped it. The cinematic zoom with the added rocks looks nice. Anking and Jinwoo look so good, and this close-up eye shot, somewhat familiar with how Kano did it in the previous seasons of episode 12. The eyelashes is very perky, not in that way. The three-dimensionality of the eye is great. You feel the volume of it. Although there's limitations with some of Tori's cuts, you can still feel Anking's desperation, and the reflection here is a nice add with Yutupon timed cubes. And the last attack by Tori, the fucking Levi Ackerman spinning around. The amount of attacks with the lines repeatedly appearing, crazy work from him. The far cry of the Ant King with the animated background zooming out to fully see the amount of ants that's gonna attack. Every shadow got their parts of scrapping with the ants. I mean, I couldn't do that too. I particularly love the close-ups of most of the main shadows, especially Iron. The detail goes crazy. And this shot, the 2-page spread that they did in the anime, although it was just PNG moment. Shinbei Wada's glorious sequence, the fire that's simultaneously going on in the background really sets the setting and despair of the Ant King, with Jinwoo towering him. Not sexually though. unfortunate. The warm glow on everything is amazing. Not just that, the overall drawing quality, this one is corrected by one of the LO Studio staff that was ADing, but most of it is probably just by Sawa alone. As I mentioned before, Sawa's character art is amazing by itself. It wouldn't be surprised if this is mostly just Sawa's character drawings. Soul Leveling really set a standard for action anime. It didn't. I can't thank Kano, Kaneko, Tori, Suzuki, Tokuda, everyone that was involved in the making of this episode. They probably had a very tight deadline, but all in all, it was a masterpiece. And people still raving about Crunchyroll likes. I don't give a shit. By the way, there's not gonna be a PV video for next week because I'm probably gonna make a video about stuff from Anime Japan. I was gonna make one for Code, but they only revealed like new character designs without any staff list. So I'll make a video about these two new shows that correlates with this one in one video. If you guys like this video, leave a like. If you hate it, leave a like. Comment down below what your thoughts about this episode. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video. See you guys next time.